Hello, everybody. Welcome to our third program on the 5 wounds that don't allow to be yourself. This will be our third wound. If you are interested in knowing more about the other ones, check on my prior videos. I talked about rejection, abandonment, and today we are talking about betrayal. At a certain point, we all have felt betrayed. And what betrayal means, because betrayal can involve many things. Betrayal happens when a vow or an agreement or a contract is broken. And it involves maybe lying, when someone lied to you, or maybe cheating, you feel cheated, or maybe someone took something from you, like stealing. And it involves all of those energies. So betrayal is not just like someone from the back did something to you, but it is the way you see it, but it involves all of these other energies. Okay, the wound happens when we are between 2 and 4 years old. And I'm saying we, because we all carry a little bit of each of these wounds. And so I'm gonna talk a little bit of how it could have happened, maybe in your case. We have one wound that is stronger than the other ones, and they all have different traits, physical traits and behavioral traits. So I'm sharing this information for you to start self-observing to see if that applies more to you, and so you can recognize it and begin to change that, to transform that, because it is important that we take care of how we felt on our childhood, because it is at this moment as an adult, we are behaving in certain ways that are based on those wounds from our past. So the wound happens between 2 and 4 years when the child starts developing sexually. Sigmund Freud brought these names of these complexes called the Oedipus complex and the Electra complex. And what that means is that the child falls in love with their parents. So the boy falls in love with mom and the girl with dad. And they tend to create jealousy from the opposite parent or anger. So that's what happens in that stage, because it's a stage that we all go through. The problem here is that that's nothing wrong with that. It's just a part of the development. But when parents don't notice it and they don't do something about it, this can create conflicts eventually in these kids. As an adults, they can have problems with their relationships or their sexuality. Why? Because maybe if the mother is too possessive, then it creates attachments to the boy, or the opposite, that with the girl. The wound can also happen if, let's say that this kid only have one parent, and no matter the gender of the parent, they can also live or feel betrayed at certain point. So it doesn't necessarily happen between the opposite parents, but it's the most common. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about this. I want to say something about these complexes before I move forward, because I am a facilitator on family constellations, and I want to give you an observation on from the systemic angle. At this age, something that we call like the triangle relationships happen here that sometimes are not healthy, and that's why they affect the future relationships of these children as adults. Why is that? Why is that? Because let's say that mother and boy align and they exclude the father. So somehow here is a sort of a betrayal. Yeah? Or the other way, father and girl align together and exclude the mother. So that is a sort of a betrayal that happens later, maybe with an affair that happens and the lover is this one. And all of these sort of triangle dynamics happen because the stage wasn't, let's say, cut in a healthy way, because it can be cut in a healthy way. You as a parent can tell your kid, I'm the father or I'm your mother and you are my son or my daughter and this is my wife, because we need to create relationships between the couple or kids with parents, but in a healthy way. If we keep reminding this in a loving way, maybe we can avoid a little bit of this, even though the kid always or tends to have a perception of what they seem is betrayal. That's part of our development. And we all come to heal one specific one. So if it's the heal, it's the one that you came to heal, no matter what, you might feel it. And then the most important thing is that you're listening to this and you can take action today to change those behaviors that don't allow you to have healthy relationships, maybe, or that make you behave in a way that maybe is not so conscious. Let's put it this way. Okay. So what happens, or when or how it could happen that you feel betrayed? Maybe a mom or dad told any of the kids that they were going to do something. I'm gonna buy you this and I'm gonna take you here, and they just didn't do it because doesn't matter why. But the kid feels like that feels betrayed. They say that and they didn't do it, so they broke the agreement, the contract, or the vow, or whatever it is, and they feel betrayed. Another way that the betrayal can happen is because maybe a new baby is born, and maybe I'm a girl and I'm the favorite of my dad, and I feel a sort of jealousy with this new baby that is just born. And then, so this girl, let's put it this way, kind of manipulates that to promise her that she always will be his favorite. Let's put it this way. So, and the same with the boy, you know, promise me, mom, that I would be the first one for you always, or the best one for you always. And that's a sort of situation that creates also a mask that the people with the wound of betrayal has, which is the controller, because they learn by right then how to control. If the parents say, yes, my love, you're gonna be always my love, then probably it's that, oh, I got how to manipulate this. So they learn how to control from those situations. So just for you to be aware, if you are a parent, just be aware of this so you can work it out a little better. Okay. So we all carry different sort of physical bodies, and each one also has different traits. So this one, the body of the betrayal one, tends to be look more stronger, and they build more muscle. For example, men, they develop wide shoulders and wide back, and chest is out, and they seem to look strong because they want people to see them as I'm strong. You can trust in me. Yeah. And women develop that strength in the hips and on the legs. So they usually have this body that goes like this and maybe rounded here on the bottom. So that's pretty much the body. The eyes are very seductive, and they also very intense. They look at you very straight to the eyes. They are very intense at looking when they look. That's part of the physical threats. As kids, they usually feel like their parents need them, and they need to be special to them. So they please their parents as much as they can. Of course, the opposite parent, if we're talking about that, that's when the wound happens. They try to please them so they can see them as important. And same thing happens as adults, because as adults they need to feel that they are special, so they take a lot of responsibility. They want to be the strong ones, and they want to be or feel like they are important for others. It's so hard for them to feel betrayed because, of course, their wound activates, and it's so hard for them to handle as any sort of betrayal. And they see many things as betrayal. I'm going to talk about that in a moment. But no matter how that happens, they tend to betray themselves or to betray others, of course, unconsciously, and they cannot accept that. They don't see it that way. They, for example, they create a lot of expectations on others, and they expect people to do the way they think, or what their opinions, like, I know it all and you have to trust in me, and if you don't, they don't like that. They feel that that is a sort of a betrayal. And also they can, since they are so good at guessing others' expectations, for example, a salesperson, they can promise what the other person needs because they can read it. They are very smart, very fast at reading people, so they can promise something that they might not be able to fulfill. Let's talk about some, not all of them, but some salesperson people can sometimes do that. They read the people's what they want, so they promise that. But they don't see that as a betrayal, of course. Okay, they feel very confident about themselves, about what they believe, and they expect others to see them as strong people, and that people that you can trust in them. They think they have the reason all the time. They know it all. They know it all. That's what happens. And if you don't think they know it all, then it's a sort of a betrayal too. They have a lot of issues with the opposite sex, the opposite gender, because the betrayal happens between the opposite parent. So it's hard for them to trust in the opposite sex. So they can trust more in the same gender, but the opposite, I don't know. I have something that I cannot trust in them. And it's because their parents probably as a child couldn't fulfill an agreement. So they still feel like any person from the opposite side is gonna do the same. If they are very competitive, so if they feel triggered by someone that is leading and has got the control of everything, this person that is a sort of a controller as well, rather leave. Because if they see that that is like taking the whole center of attention, because they love being the center of attention. They love being exposed and in the front, and they want to be the leaders. And actually they could be a very good leader, but when they could be a very good leader when they let go of controlling. Let's put it this way, because they have the soul of the leader. So that's also important to say here. We all have good traits too. I'm talking about the unconscious ones that we develop it's important for us to see. Okay, also they are very fast. They think fast, they do fast, they are very smart, very intelligent. So it's hard for them to deal with people that is slow, or they lose their patience. For example, you see these ones often on the streets when you're driving. They lose control. They lose their patience with people that is driving slow, and then tend to, pass it over, and they get mad. It's like all of these behaviors are from a person that has maybe this one and is into the mask of the controlling. When they take this person, I don't know, they don't know how to drive, or they don't know this, or why are they driving, or how they got the driver license, and they say all of these things out of this because they lose it. They just cannot control it. And when things don't go the way they want them, they also lose it. But they don't want people to notice that they are losing it. But it shows. Others see it, but they don't want others to see it because they don't want to look like they are losing control of the situation. It's hard for them to live in the present. They are always planning on the future. Okay, let's say this. I'm gonna plan vacations with my family. So the plan happens, and when they are traveling, they are in the place where they are having vacations, but they cannot be there present. They are thinking that when I come back home, I have to do this, I have to do that. It's like they cannot be in the present because they have to be somewhere else. It's like I have to plan more. I have to be always one step ahead, let's put it this way. And also, it's like it's hard for them to not to be present because they don't know how things are going if I'm not there. For example, at work. Oh my God, I'm going for vacations and I don't know if I leave, how this is gonna work without me. Let's put it this way. And it's hard for them to delegate, especially on people that is from the opposite sex. It's hard for them to give them tasks that they just think that they are the only ones that can do that. So they have these issues. They actually don't like getting sick. They don't get sick a lot because they want to be present doing, taking that controlling space, so they can make sure that everything is going right. Like if they delegate, they have to be on the person, on the other ones, checking if everything is going right. They don't like people to be late. They are always the early people that come are those to any event. And when others come late, they don't like it. They actually feel that that is a sort of a betrayal. So, and they can handle it more from the same gender, but from the opposite, oh my God, that they are, it's like, they see it so bad. They tend to give opinion on everything, even if it's not of their concern. They just want to control others because they want to say, I can help you. Let me show you how to do it. I know how it will be. I know how I can do it. I can show you how you can do it better. So they have this tendency to show others how to do. And so they are always kind of interfering, and they interrupt a lot. When someone is talking, they just interrupt a lot. And when they tell them, oh, but wait, they say, oh, I haven't finished yet. So they have this fire, let's say it this way, because yeah, they do have this fire igniting all the time. They don't like to be corrected. So if someone comes to correct them, oh my God, boom, the fire goes up, and ay. That happens to them too. Another thing that they don't like showing is their vulnerability. They don't, because they think that others can take advantage of that. So they don't want to show that they are human. Let's put it this way. They just don't. When they are parents, also because one of the main things that these people take care of is their reputation. For example, they don't have debts, or if they borrow money, they tend to pay right away because their reputation will have to look good in front of others. So they really take care of that. And that is a sort of controlling too, because they want to look good. You can trust in me. And so when they have kids, they kind of want to control these kids so they do well, or have kids that do well. So our reputation is that we are good parents. So it's not maybe because yeah, we all want to be good parents, but they also have this underlying desire that is unconscious. So they tend to tell kids, oh, I'm going to tell you how to do it, and you can trust in me because this is the way, this is the best way. And this is the convenient way. And so it's because they want to kind of control that things turn out well. And it's good, of course, we want our kids to do well. But at a certain point, am I doing it consciously or unconsciously? That's the question here. Let me see. This is a good one. They like, when they are partnering, they like to find someone that is, let's put it this way, weaker or more dependable, because they want to be the controller, and the controller needs someone that is not so strong. They need someone that is weaker than them so they can control them. Or this person needs me, I'm gonna help this person. So it's a codependency. Codependency. This one that is dependable may be a victim of abandonment, for example, because betrayal and abandonment kind of get along well, because the abandonment needs someone to take care of me, and the control needs someone to take care of them, of those abandoned ones, you know? So they have this, they match, let's put it this way, they match. And something that is important to see here is that one of the biggest fear of people with this wound is separation. Like, for example, divorce, that's so hard. They don't want to do it. They want to just hold it and hold it, because if separation happens, they see it as a sort of betrayal too, but they also don't like feeling abandoned. So it's a sort of, that's why I say that betrayal and abandonment sometimes go along. They both kind of have these dynamics that are, of course, unconscious, but they kind of work it together. So it's important to see that. And they could be, for example, good comedian people, because they like to be the center of attention, to laugh, to call the attention. Yeah, different than the abandonment one that likes to be the center of attention, but because that person feels the victim, I need you to help me. And so maybe the abandonment could be a good actress, but then the controller can be a good comedian. So see, there is a difference between those two. Or sometimes they jump from one to the other too. The person with this one like to have a directive position in a work, at work, for example, because they like leading. But sometimes that leading, as I said before, when they let go of controlling and learn how to delegate, they can become very good leaders, because otherwise they tend to be hard-headed, or they want things now or the way I want them, you know. So those things, just see yourself. Okay, what else? They have a tendency to eat fast. They eat fast. They like a lot of food, but sometimes when they are at work, they forget how they had to eat. And sometimes they eat fast because they don't have time to lose. For example, they're so in this rush state is normal in them. They just rush. And they eat a lot. They enjoy eating salty food. And so they also have certain issues that can develop in the body because of this unconsciousness, let's put it this way. So they tend to have problems with tension in their muscles, like spasms. Like spasms is very common on them. They need to get massaged, for example, because they have, this tends to have so much responsibility and I have to control it all. So this position creates it's like a tense position, and that creates spasms. They also have problems with the joints because it's hard for them to bend, let's put it this way, to be flexible to what others think or want that is different than what that person thinks it should be. So they could have problems, for example, on their knees, yeah, and the joints in general. They could have also some problems, digestive problems, since they get anger or mad easily. They can have problems with the liver, because the liver in the Chinese medicine is related to anger. And so they have issues with liver and stomach, of course, because it's all related. And when they get in these states, they cannot control it, the anger, and so they cannot metabolize this, or they just get loose. As the intestines go loose, they can get something like diarrhea, for example, very often, because they cannot control it. It's like fire empty the stomach, right? So those anger emotions can create all of these issues in a person with this wound that don't know they have this wound, of course, because sometimes people say, no, that's my personality. And we tend to confuse personality. In personality or character is different than acting unconsciously from a wound that you cannot recognize you had, because of course it was in a early stage of your life, and sometimes it's hard for us to see it and to recognize that, because in my case I couldn't recognize all of these issues until I was reading this information, and I didn't know what was happening into my life. But I had issues with betrayal, abandonment, and rejections. Those three are my main wounds, let's put it this way. I have many stories about them that I will be sharing eventually. Eventually, I'm already sharing some. I have a video. I did a conference last year, and I exposed my soul with one of those stories of abandonment in my life. It is in Spanish, but it has captions in English. So if you're willing to see it, it's here on YouTube. What else? They can have diseases that are out of their control, because since they are so controlling, the things that happen to them are things that they just cannot have control of them. Like, for example, paralysis of the body, or heart problems, or sexual dysfunction. Those sort of things that you cannot easily work out happen because it's teaching them that you need to let go of control. Otherwise, it's like I'm showing you with your own body that that's what's happening within you that you haven't been able to see. So it's a sort of that. And I think that's it from the betrayal one. I hope this information brought a good observation for you, and some of the behaviors that maybe sometimes we do that are unconscious, that we don't know why we act this way, or why we act this way towards others, or others towards us, and maybe what we accepted, maybe we have the abandonment. So just check on the other two wounds. I will be talking about humiliation wound next video, on the next video. And I'm also doing a little video on abuse that somehow could be related to this wound as well, the abandonment or the victim with the perpetrator. That is a sort of something that it sometimes happens with the controller and the dependent person. So if you like this video, please like it now. And if you think it's important, share it. And also please subscribe. My intention is to pass information for you so you can have a self-observation and work on your self-consciousness. Thank you so much. Have a beautiful day. I'll see you next time around. Oi.